If you're having a hard time realizing or understanding that the amount of attention and energy you put toward that which you desire results in that actually manifesting and materializing itself quicker for you, then it is important that you listen and understand this concept of focusing. But you must recognize when, in order to focus on that which you want, you have to know how to identify when your focus is problem oriented rather than solution oriented. Many times, what we often focus on is the problem. And that allows the problem to grow within you to such a state that you feel anxious, you feel uneasy, and it's almost impossible for you to be productive in creating the solution. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on how to identify the fact that you are more problem oriented, that you are focused too much on the problem. And when you are focused too much on the problem, it is very difficult to come up with a solution and thus allow you to live your life. All right. Allow you to experience joy, fulfillment, excitement, ease, relaxation, right? Luxury, leisure, all the things that we truly wish to create for ourselves in our lives. So let's get into it. First thing is first, in order for you to recognize what it is you're focusing on, you have to take time to check in with yourself. A lot of this comes down to self awareness, right? Self check ins. And this can happen from moment to moment. This can happen hourly, right? You can set an alarm on your phone or your watch stating and reminding you to simply do a check in. Allow yourself to really get into what you're feeling, even if it's just feeling it in your body. Allow yourself to notice any sense of tension, any sense of anxiety, any sense of worry that may be going on within you, because that is when you begin to identify where this is coming from, where this feeling of angst, feeling of being concerned, feeling of heaviness, feeling of a low grade anxiety that just continues to exist. And it is so low grade that it's almost unidentifiable, right? It is something that you can quote unquote live with. But essentially, this thing is killing you slowly. And so it's important for you to identify where you are now in order for you to understand and see where you're going. In the life of recognizing manifestation, materialization, coming into ownership as to who you truly are, you must recognize who you think you are currently. And so, as you look at yourself and you recognize, okay, I feel a lot of tension in my shoulders, I have a lot of issues in my low back, right? You can identify, okay, these things are subliminal, these things are symbolic of where you are, right? Your back is something that represents stability. And when you're having back pain, though it can be related to an injury, it also can relate to how you're feeling in the world, how you're feeling and how you're showing up in your life, right? The back represents stability. And if you're not stable, then you're going to tend to have back pain. You're going to tend to have shoulder and neck pain, right? Neck pain can result in you just simply having a heavy mind and you're not feeling stable in your thoughts. And all of your thoughts are heavy and feeling like there's so much weight that you're carrying. And so, in the spiritual journey, when you understand the significance of you being one with all that is, the infinite universe, right? The the source, the that which we call God, when you recognize that you are one with that, then you understand how that relieves you of so much pressure, that relieves you of so much weight and heaviness and baggage. But when you are looking at yourself separately from that intelligence, right? When you are being driven by the ego, which is its nature is to create a separation, right? From you and that which you are experiencing, because that is the human experience, but you're being led by that in a way that makes you to really identify solely with that state of being, then you don't have this sense of connection an understanding of the oneness that is you in the infinite universe. So it is important to lean into consciousness, and that's what this spiritual journey is about. But as you are going in that direction of understanding these things, these tools, this idea and understanding of focus, identifying, being problem oriented, right, is what is going to move you along the path. And so as you check in with your body, and that can help you to identify, okay, if I'm feeling tension in my neck, in my shoulders, in my back, then it leads you to more questions. Why are you feeling tension? What is it that you're worried about? What is it that you're concerned about? Right? Is it truly a matter of danger? Or is it a matter of fear resulting from an imagination of danger? Right? Many times the things that you are anxious about, fearful about, relate to finances, bills, relates to relationships, right? It relates to things that really aren't dire and really aren't going to harm you, so to speak. And so when you really think about the fact that really you're not in danger, that should relieve you of some of that pressure. Secondly, for many of us who are older, 30s, 40s, 50s, and up, you have experienced things like that before, and you have gotten through those things. And so when you look at the evidence, the proof, right, that you have been through that before, and though yes, you do not wish to go through it again, you have survived it, right? You figured it out. And so this is another moment where you get through it as well. You figure it out. And so that again relieves you from understanding that this infinite energy, this recognition of understanding that these things will pass. It's not a big deal. And when you recognize that it will pass and it is not a big deal, that alleviates you to a space where you can let go of the problem. And when you let go of the problem, then you can go further into the solution, right? What is going to create the lifestyle that you want rather than what is going to get you out of the problem that you're in. You see, because even in thinking about getting out of the problem, you are focusing on the problem. But if you are now letting yourself go, right, you're surrendering to or surrendering the problem, right, from your existence, from your reality, then you understand, hey, this problem, it's been there. I'll get over it. It'll pass. But I must focus on that which I desire, right? Which in a way is the solution to the problem. Because if you're focusing on what you desire, say the situation you're worried about is finances. Well, if you're focused on attracting, creating more money, and you're focusing on how to do that, right? You're focusing on your purpose, your talents, the things that will allow you to create that money. Then, by focusing on that desire, you thus create the solution to the problem that you are having. So you must learn to, yes, identify that you are problem oriented because that continuous anxiety, worry, concern that is just consistently, you know, hovering or haunting you throughout your life, though you can live with it, so to speak, it is causing a problem in the long term of your life. Because as long as you don't address it, as long as you don't find its opposite and you don't create that opposite or materialize that opposite, then that thing will continue to exist. So your job is to recognize and reinforce this understanding of getting rid of these issues and these limiting beliefs as to what is leading you to continue on with this, feeling of worry and concern, right? Because the reason why you're constantly worried and concerned and you're not letting go of this problem-oriented mindset is because there is a part of you that doesn't think that you can. There's a part of you that thinks that this is life and this is the way things are supposed to be. There's a part of you that understands and thinks that, oh, well, my family went through this, my parents went through this, most people are going through this, so it's okay for me to go through this. And when you identify that these limiting beliefs are the thing that is keeping this existence in play, then you understand your role and your accountability. And then you take responsibility over the fact that you don't have to have these limiting beliefs, right? You can let them go instead of reinforcing them day in and day out by simply not addressing the fact that you're simply always focusing on the problem. And if you are always focusing on the problem will always be there. So you must focus on the other side of the spectrum. There is the problem, and then there is that which you desire, which is the natural solution to the problem. You see, what I'm not going to tell you is that you should focus on the solution only, because if you are just, again, focusing on the solution to the problem, you are still focusing on the problem. And that will create a loop. And it will basically send you to a place where you feel insane because you are looking for a solution to a problem. You come up with the solution, but for some reason that problem still exists and it still materializes and exists in your life and transforms in different ways. You see? But if you allow yourself to recognize, okay, I am constantly focusing on a problem, that is the problem. And therefore, let me focus on that which I desire, which is naturally the problem, because it is on the other side of the spectrum. You see, when I talk about spectrum, it's like thinking about bad versus good. Many people think that they are two opposite things, that they are completely opposite, they are completely different, they are opposing elements, but they are not. They are simply two extreme sides of the spectrum, right? There are two extreme sides of that which is. And so though you think good versus bad, it is really good and bad, right? There is a spectrum and then there's a whole lot of grayness in between, right? There is not just good and bad. There is a whole lot of complexities that happen in between good and bad, right? In between light and dark, between good and evil. So you have to recognize that, okay, this is a spectrum of things. And when you identify, okay, for me to not experience this side of the spectrum, I must go to the other side of the spectrum and focus on that. When I focus on the other side of the spectrum, that is the natural solution to being currently on this side of the spectrum, which ultimately is the bad side, right? So it's important that you think about that and then practice understanding the importance of self awareness in this journey, because that is really the thing that is going to support you in identifying where you are. Self awareness is the key to this whole journey. When you are constantly checking in on yourself, you are constantly asking yourself, how do you feel? You are constantly asking yourself, why do you feel this? Why do you react like this? Why do you do this? And then you think about what it is that you do desire, okay? And you even think about how does it make you feel to actually pursue that, to do that. When you are constantly checking in with yourself and practicing self-awareness, it is sending you on the path. You may feel like it's hard work and you don't want to deal with it because that means that you have to acknowledge and admit certain things about yourself that you are not flattered by, that you don't feel confident with, that you don't feel empowered by. But in order for you to feel empowered, you must acknowledge the aspects of yourself that doesn't have power currently. You must acknowledge the weak aspects of yourself in order for you to strengthen them. You see, the best athletes, the best financial experts, millionaires, billionaires, the most successful people on the planet don't simply just ignore the weak spots in their life. What they do is they focus on making them better. Yes, they triple and double down on what they're good at, but they recognize, okay, this is a weak area in my life, and I need to make sure that it is covered, that it is efficient, that it is going to get me through toward my goal. Because when you don't acknowledge those weak points, then those are the things that will continue to show up and mess up your success, mess up your happiness, mess up your fulfillment, mess up your ability to materialize and manifest all that which that you desire. So you must practice self-awareness in order for you to shift from having a problem-oriented mind to having a mind that is creating that which you desire, which is the natural solution to the problem. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get access to this free ebook and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.